This is the best car Nissan's come out with in 10 years. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Today we're out driving the 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. We got this car a little bit later than a lot of other outlets. And it's a bit of a shame because I actually really like it. It's surprising. I didn't expect to like it that much. I haven't really liked a lot of stuff coming from Nissan lately, although the new Frontier was quite good. So it doesn't really surprise me that the Pathfinder is good as well, but the new Rogue came out and it looked like they tried to just kind of cover up shoddy engineering with just it was nice on paper, but I just didn't get a good feeling from behind the wheel. I didn't like a lot of the way it felt inside. It just didn't feel good. This is entirely opposite. I'm mixed on the looks. I mean, I don't mind it really. I like the back a lot. The front's a little robotic, but it's the interior and the way this thing drives that I actually think it's really worth your money. It's pretty darn functional. If I had any complaint with the rear, it would only be that these third row seats are not powered. You gotta reach way up, pull that up here, and then you can kind of adjust to recline and pull these headrests up. You do get some underfloor storage, which I like to see. It's not super deep, but it looks like it's got a little drain plug and certainly functional. Some power points back there as well. And then coming up in here, quick shout out to the capless fuel filler and no premium fuel. Like to see both of those. So take a look at this interior. It is beautiful. I love this combination of dark brown and black. That seat pops right up. There's a little button right here. If you don't know that, don't screw around with this and scooting the seat back and everything. It's got a nice quick release. I really appreciate that. Coming on back, you can pull the seat back into place. I am a 5'10" individual and I have enough knee room. I could be back here. I wouldn't want to live back here for a long time. I think it'd be perfectly fine for kids or adults for a shorter period of time. You do have a USB-A port and 2 cup holders. Looks like the same thing on the other side. There are 3 seats back here, so you could fit 3 children. Some vents as well, which is nice to see. Then when they're ready to be freed, they just tap that button, slam their sibling up into the driver's seat, and you're free. That's actually a really smart mechanism. I think a lot of brands could learn from something like that. Some scoot back and some recline in the second row. This is actually a really nice place to be. Nice captain's chairs. They did a really smart job with cup holders in this car. I know it seems minor, but when you consider how much crap we carry around on a daily basis, between drinks and food and books, nobody reads, tablets, phones, chargers, bags, a lot of good places for all those back here. I like these armrests. I like the door back pockets, and you get little sunshades. That's nice to see. Panoramic sunroof, although the back doesn't really get much covered. It's mostly just for the front, but it does make the cabin lighten up. Nice to see. Oh, you also have second row climate controls back here, and a USB-A and USB-C, as well as a 120 volt wall outlet. I know this seems really small, but it goes a long way for me. For the longest time, Nissan still carried little buttons on their door handles. Maybe some people appreciated those, but it made it so to unlock, you couldn't just grab the handle, you had to press the button. They've gone away from that with the Pathfinder. Now you can just pull the handle open, proxy key unlocks the car. Also, they really want you to know this is a Pathfinder, so you can see Pathfinder, 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 Pathfinder. It's all over this car. They're really drumming up that brand, but hey, it's a brand that they've had out for a little while. It's building up a bit of a reputation. I bet you people who own Pathfinders like their Pathfinders. I like this little bit of kind of metallic, might be plastic, but it feels and looks kind of metally aspect there. I wish they had a little bit more of that, but overall just a really pretty and functional use of this cabin. I like some storage space under here. Might be large enough for a small purse. In fact, I think Alyssa could probably fit her purse in there. Wireless device charger here, USB-A and USB-C again, both data ports. If you do want to see a little bit more on how that functions, check the link in the description. We've got a review dedicated just to the 13 speaker Bose audio system and the infotainment screen. Look at how functional all this climate control is too. 3 steps for your heated seat and your cooled seat, very easy to do. Heated steering wheel, dual zone climate, and a bunch of physical controls for the infotainment as well. You got volume, track, all that good stuff. They're keeping it straightforward, and I do really appreciate that. Even though the shifter is a little bit silly and a little bit cheap feeling, it's definitely not as bad as the Rogue. Look, I can't wiggle it around in the same way. It feels more solid. And I like that it doesn't have a huge footprint either. It allows this very functional storage space. You could set something right here, like if you got a phone, for example, you could go like that, put it in the cup holders, you could put it right here in the door, you could put it down there in the door. Check this out. Big ol' 32 ounce Camelback. That fits into the door super easy, and it could even fit right here. Just the functionality of this interior is really winning me over, and you guys know I don't talk too much about interiors typically, but they did a good job with this. I gotta give Nissan credit. Then, getting out on the road, I was also really impressed. I expect large, kind of middle of the road, everyday type crossovers these days to drive like pigs, and this thing's actually pretty darn tight. There's not a lot of slop in the steering. This V6 responds really well, and it's just pleasant to drive. Paired up with this 9-speed automatic transmission, I don't mind it. And for me not to mind driving something like this really goes and says a lot about how good of a job they did. It's especially interesting for me because I just got out of almost 1,000 miles in the new Mitsubishi Outlander, which, as some of you may know, is just a reskinned Nissan Rogue. And it wasn't bad, but I felt more about that as I do with a lot of crossovers. It's just like, it's fine. Like, it's just a new car. It's not great. It's not bad. You'll be fine with it. This, I would actually recommend. This, I think, I've had trouble coming up with really any faults to it. Anything that I've had a complaint about is super minor. Things like the whole front gauge instrument cluster is a little convoluted. It's kind of busy up there. A lot of different screens. I mean, once you owned it, you kind of get used to where everything is. It's just a lot. But again, that's a super, super minor note. I also appreciate the very nice resolution head-up display that's in front of me. Once you're cruising on the road with this thing, look at how responsive that steering is. Right off center, you get steering response. Throttle's really responsive. You have multiple drive modes, quite a few actually. Starting from the top, you've got sand, mud and ruts, snow, auto, eco, sport, and tow. I've really just been driving this thing around in auto. I mean, yes, I've dabbled with sport mode, and we used eco when we were on the highway for the fuel economy test, but I'm sure this thing is actually pretty darn capable off-road. Nissan has told us, sure, go ahead, take it out to the dunes, do something cool off-road with it. And I really don't think that's how a lot of people are going to use their Pathfinder, but I believe that it could be done. And maybe now, after actually spending time with the car and enjoying time with the car, maybe we do need to take this thing off-road and give it a little bit of thrashing, see how it handles. It probably does really well. This is the Platinum trim, so this is definitely not geared toward going off-road. This is more geared toward looking good and feeling good on the street. Unfortunately, the Platinum trim does knock your fuel economy down about 1 mile per gallon. We measured 25 out in our real-world highway fuel economy test. I think that's probably the best you're going to see. Not outstanding for this size of vehicle, but when you consider its capability and that it's just got a nice naturally aspirated V6, I'd be willing to knock down a few miles per gallon in exchange for such a smooth operating powertrain. Another small quibble, there's actually a surprising amount of road noise. I noticed that on our highway fuel economy test. You hear more sound than you'd like from these tires. I don't know if they're maybe geared a little bit toward maybe the all-terrain side of things, being this a little bit more of a capable off-roader type vehicle. I'd like to have some quieter tires or more sound deadening. I don't know where the issue is, but they could do a little bit with that. On the technology side of things, you're running wireless or wired Apple CarPlay, only wired Android Auto. I bet you they'll be adding wireless Android Auto in the next model year, but that's all you've got right now for the 2022. I don't think the infotainment is the most pretty, but I gotta admit it's pretty darn functional and fairly intuitive as well. Nice, straightforward layout with things. One thing that does surprise me is there's no camera rear-view mirror system. I would think at this point that with a vehicle this large and Nissan kind of being near the bleeding edge of things with technology that they'd have a camera system for this, but just a conventional rear view mirror. Give you a little idea for how this thing responds. It's definitely powerful, and more importantly, it just sounds good. It sounds happy to rev out. We noticed that with the Frontier as well. This isn't an overtaxed motor, and I bet you it's going to be dead reliable for a long time. That's not something you can really guarantee with 2-liter turbos that are heaving around some of these other large SUVs. That's another thing. This thing has a 6,000 pound tow rating, so you really can use it for all sorts of just lifestyle sort of things. If you need to pull people and stuff, you can do it both with the Pathfinder. And that's who I think should be buying this sort of car. I know that this is probably going to be sold to a lot of people who really could get away with having a smaller car, something more like a compact or mid-sized compact crossover. I do think this should really be bought by people who might actually be buying things like Explorers and Nissan Armadas. They could probably get away with the Pathfinder. It's a decent amount of space and a decent amount of capability. And I think someone like that would be really, really well served by this package. But regardless of who you are, the pricing is pretty darn good. This one's $52,000 fully loaded. You can get them significantly cheaper than that. And you're getting, I know this is a bit cliche, but you're getting a lot of car for your money. And I think it's a car you could own for a really long time and really be pretty darn happy with it. And the main reason I say that is because I have been happy with it for the last week, and that's saying something for me. It's been a few years since I would so highly recommend a Nissan product like this, but hey, this is seriously something you should check out if you're in the market for one of those larger type vehicles like this. Not too bad, Nissan. Well done. Right, so like I said, if you do want to see more on the Pathfinder, check the link in the description. We've got our highway fuel economy test and our Bose sound system review. And thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.